She'd seen me. The real me. And I was still here, still breathing, still whole. For 8 months I lived with this moment haunting me. Fear made my hands shake at the mirror. Longing kept me awake at night. But nothing, absolutely nothing, prepared me for the way Jennifer looked at me that day. I found myself standing taller, walking with more grace. Conversations with strangers flowed easier, but even as I embraced this new confidence, Jennifer's face haunted my thoughts. The way she looked at me wasn't just shock, there was something deeper there. Pain, maybe, or recognition of something she'd lost without ever really knowing what it was. Like I was a stranger wearing Scott's face. But what happened next changed everything I thought I knew about closure, about moving forward, and about whether the past can ever truly stay buried. This was the moment I had always feared and secretly longed for. The collision of my past and present. The woman who'd shared 5 years of my life trying to reconcile the man she'd married with the person I'd become. The confusion, the recognition, the shock. And underneath it all, something else I couldn't quite identify. The week after seeing Jennifer felt like living in a strange, suspended reality. Every morning, I'd wake up expecting the encounter to have been a dream, but then I'd see my reflection. The soft waves of my hair, the subtle makeup I'd started wearing to bed because I loved how it made me feel. And remember, it was all real. Something had shifted inside me during those few minutes on the sidewalk. For the first time since my transformation began, I stopped second-guessing every choice. I bought a bottle of coral nail polish and painted my nails while watching the sunset from my apartment balcony. I tried on the silky emerald blouse I'd been too nervous to wear and actually wore it to the grocery store. The voice in my head, the one that had criticized and questioned every step of this journey, had gone quiet. In its place was something I'd never experienced before: encouragement, self-compassion, the gentle voice of someone who was finally, truly, on my own side. "You're glowing," my friend Sarah said when we met for lunch that Wednesday. "Whatever you're doing, keep doing it." Thursday evening, I was in my bathroom removing my makeup when my phone buzzed. A text message. From Jennifer. "We should talk." 4 words. But in those 4 words lived every secret I'd buried, every truth I'd feared she would uncover. I wondered if she was thinking about me too, if she was replaying that moment, trying to make sense of what she'd seen, or if she'd decided to forget it entirely and move on with her life. 4 words that sent my carefully built confidence crashing down like a house of cards. I sat on my bed, still wearing the navy dress I'd chosen for dinner with friends, and stared at those words until they blurred together. We should talk. Such simple words, but they carried the weight of everything unsaid between us. What did she want to talk about? Was she angry? Hurt? Curious? Did she think this was all some elaborate performance, some midlife crisis I'd eventually grow out of? Or had she seen something in that moment on the sidewalk that made her want to understand? Haja. I typed and deleted a dozen responses. Yes, I'd like that too. Delete. I understand if you have questions. Delete. Only if you're ready to see me as I really am. Delete. Finally, I sent back, "Okay." The next 3 days were torture. I couldn't eat properly, couldn't focus on work, couldn't even enjoy the simple pleasures that had been bringing me so much joy. Every time my phone made a sound, my heart would race, thinking it was her with details about when and where we'd meet. But the silence stretched on. No follow-up message, no phone call, nothing. Just the weight of her words hanging over everything like storm clouds. I started doubting myself again. Maybe I shouldn't have agreed so quickly. Maybe I should have asked what she wanted to discuss first. Maybe this was a mistake that would undo all the progress I'd made. But underneath the anxiety was something else. A small, stubborn flame of hope that refused to be extinguished. Hope that maybe, just maybe, this conversation could lead somewhere neither of us expected. Saturday afternoon, I was organizing my jewelry, a small collection of delicate earrings and necklaces that had become part of my daily routine, when the doorbell rang. I wasn't expecting anyone. Sarah had canceled our shopping trip, and I'd planned to spend the day reading and maybe trying a new eyeshadow technique I'd seen online. The doorbell rang again, more insistent this time. I walked to the door in my comfortable weekend outfit, a soft lavender sweater dress that made me feel feminine and cozy, and looked through the peephole. Jennifer stood on my doorstep, shifting her weight from foot to foot, looking as nervous as I felt. For a moment, I froze. This wasn't the controlled meeting I'd imagined, the careful conversation in a neutral, public space. This was her, at my door, seeing my transformed apartment with its colorful throw pillows and fresh flowers, about to witness the life I'd built without her. Something remarkable happened in that moment of panic. Instead of the old, familiar wave of shame and fear, I felt calm, grounded. I looked down at my painted nails, at the dress that made me feel beautiful, at the home that finally reflected who I was inside. I wasn't the same person who once trembled under her gaze, who twisted myself into shapes I thought would make her happy. I was someone who had found peace with myself, someone worthy of respect and understanding. I opened the door. "Hi, Jennifer." She looked different than she had on the sidewalk. Less shocked, but more uncertain. Her eyes took in my appearance again, lingering on the makeup, the dress, the way I carried myself. "I hope it's okay that I came by," she said. "I know I should have called first, but She trailed off, gesturing vaguely. "It's fine," I said, and meant it. "Would you like to come in?" I made tea while Jennifer sat on my couch, taking in the transformed space. Gone were the beige walls and generic furniture from our shared life. In their place were warm colors, art that spoke to me, plants that thrived under my care. It was unmistakably the home of someone who knew herself. "Your apartment looks," she began, then paused. "It looks like you." I handed her a cup of chamomile tea, noting how she carefully avoided commenting on my appearance directly. We sat across from each other, the coffee table between us feeling like a bridge over 8 months of silence. She told me about her new job, the apartment she'd moved into across town, a trip to Italy she'd taken with her sister. Safe topics, the kind of conversation we might have had with any acquaintance. But I could see her watching me as I responded, studying the way I moved, the inflection in my voice, searching for traces of the person she'd once known. "You seem," she paused, choosing her words carefully, "different, softer, happier." The observation hung in the air between us. I could have deflected, made some joke about yoga or meditation. Instead, I found myself laughing, not nervously, but with genuine warmth. "I am happier," I said. "For the first time in years, maybe ever, I'm actually happy." Her expression shifted, something vulnerable flickering across her features. "I can see that. It's hard to understand. The Scott I knew was always so miserable?" I suggested gently. She winced. "I was going to say guarded, but yes, there was always this sadness around you that I never knew how to reach." The careful politeness evaporated as Jennifer set down her teacup with shaking hands. "So it's true," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "What I saw on the street. This is really who you are now." I met her gaze directly. "This is who I've always been, Jennifer, even if I didn't know it then." The words seemed to hit her like a physical blow. She stood up abruptly, pacing to the window, her back to me. "You never told me. All those years we were married, all those nights, we talked about everything and nothing, and you never once mentioned." She gestured at me, at the apartment, at the life I'd built. "I didn't understand it myself," I said quietly. "I was lost, Jennifer. Living for everyone else, trying to be what I thought you wanted, what my parents expected, what society demanded. I didn't even know this part of me existed." She turned around, and I saw tears in her eyes. "Do you know how it feels to realize the person I married was never really there?" The accusation cut deep, but I forced myself to stay calm, to speak from the truth I'd fought so hard to discover. "I was there," I said, my own voice breaking slightly. "I loved you, Jennifer. Every laugh, every fight, every quiet morning over coffee. It was real. The love was real, but I was hiding a part of me I didn't know how to share, a part one didn't even know existed." She sank back onto the couch, her head in her hands. "I keep thinking about all the times you seemed distant, all the times I felt like I was talking to a wall. Was that because of this?" "Partly," I admitted. "I was suffocating, Jennifer, living a life that never quite fit. And I thought that was normal, that everyone felt that disconnected from themselves. I thought if I just tried harder to be the right kind of husband, the right kind of man, that feeling would go away. But it never did. No, it never did. And eventually, that misery started poisoning everything around me, including us." The room fell silent except for the soft tick of the clock on my mantel. Jennifer and I sat with the weight of years of misunderstanding between us, the ghost of our failed marriage hovering in the space. "I don't know how to process this," she said finally. "Part of me is angry that you never trusted me enough to tell me. Part of me is sad for what we lost. And part of me is—" She paused, searching for words. "Part of me is almost relieved, like all those times I felt like something was missing finally makes sense." I leaned forward, choosing my words carefully. "You don't have to understand it all right now. I just want you to know that I'm not hiding anymore. This is me. All of me. For the first time in my life, I'm living as my complete self." She looked at me then, really looked, taking in the person sitting across from her, You do seem lighter somehow, like you were carrying something heavy for years and finally put it down. That's exactly what it feels like. We talked for another hour. Raw questions, painful truths, long pauses filled with the weight of everything we'd never said to each other. Jennifer asked about my transformation, how it started, what it meant. I tried to explain the indescribable relief of finally living authentically, the joy of wearing clothes that felt like my skin, the peace of looking in the mirror and recognizing the person staring back. She listened without judgment, though I could see her struggling to reconcile this new information with her memories of our marriage. Slowly, tentatively, something began to shift between us. Not forgiveness exactly, and not reconciliation, but a kind of recognition. Two people who had loved each other imperfectly, finally being honest about why it hadn't worked. As the afternoon light began to fade, Jennifer stood to leave. At the door, she turned back to me, her expression softer than it had been in years. "You do seem happier," she said quietly. "I can see it in your eyes, in how you move, even in how you decorated this place. It feels like you." I nodded, not trusting myself to speak. "I'm still processing all of this," she continued. "I don't know if I'll ever fully understand it, but I can see that this is real for you, that this isn't some phase or crisis. This is who you are." "It is? I wish—" She stopped herself, then started again. "I wish we could have figured this out together. Maybe things would have been different." "Maybe," I said, "but maybe we both needed to become who we really are before we could have had that conversation." She smiled then, the first genuine smile I'd seen from her all day. "Maybe you always knew who you were. You just didn't know how to say it." Standing in my doorway, watching Jennifer walk back to her car, I felt something I hadn't expected. Hope. Not for us to get back together. Too much had changed, too much time had passed. But hope for something new. Understanding, maybe. Or simply peace between two people who had shared something real, even if we hadn't understood it at the time. As her car disappeared around the corner, I touched the necklace I was wearing, a delicate silver chain that caught the light when I moved. This was me. This was my life. And for the first time since our marriage ended, I felt like maybe that was enough. The conversation with Jennifer hadn't solved everything. There were still complicated emotions to untangle, still questions without easy answers. But something fundamental had shifted. I was no longer hiding, no longer performing a version of myself for anyone else's comfort. Whether we would remain in each other's lives, whether we could build some new kind of friendship on the ruins of our marriage, those were questions for another day. What mattered now was that I had faced my past with honesty and grace, and emerged still whole, still myself. Two people with a history too complicated to resolve in a single afternoon. But maybe, just maybe, this wasn't an ending. Maybe it was the beginning of something neither of us had imagined possible. What would you have said if you were Jennifer in that moment? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear your perspective. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories of transformation, identity, and self-discovery. The end.
The Gender Diary exists to light that path with shared stories. Whether you found connection in this narrative, you're on your own journey of gender exploration, or you're here seeking understanding, your subscription fuels our mission. Every subscriber empowers us to keep illuminating these authentic experiences for our community. Kindly drop a comment below. Your voice adds to the tapestry of experiences that makes this space meaningful. Until our next story unfolds.